I just want to say one word to you. Just one word.
Yes, sir.
Are you listening?
Yes, I am.
Plastics.
We began producing plastic in earnest in the 1950s. It's hard to remember back then. I wasn't alive back then, but you know, we got along without it. But of course it offered great convenience and its production skyrocketed. So in 1967, when Dustin Hoffman was advised to go into plastics in The Graduate, there were 25 million tons of plastic produced. These days, it is 300 million. The industry is worth $4 trillion, and almost half of what we're producing is single-use plastics. You know, the clamshells and things that will be used once and almost instantly become trash. As the trash piles up, people have been increasingly upset about it, about its impacts on these poor countries where it's messing, and also on the oceans, and also on all of us, where it's in our bodies, and it's in our air, and it's in our water. That got me thinking about, why haven't we gotten further with eradicating plastic? And of course, the answer is follow the money.
So this is Doheny Beach in Orange County. We welcome you all to come visit it. It's a great place to learn to surf. It's pretty clean because we have ordinances that really stop pollution. Number one is that we have a fee on bags in California. There's also very few beverage containers because we have a container deposit law, which really incentivizes people to bring back their containers. And we don't have many plastic straws because now there's a straw on request law in California that just doesn't fling straws out. People actually have to really ask for them. So one of the things that shocked me when I started working in this area was to find out that many communities and states actually didn't have the legal right to pass a bag ordinance and reduce litter. Now, those little communities were required to clean them up and pay for cleaning them up, but they didn't have the legal rights because some corporate lobbyists had gone in at the state level and passed a law that prevented them from putting fees on bags.
So the big plan is that we're trying to recycle our plastic bags like this since pollution is getting worse and worse.
Westmead Elementary School is in Tennessee, and recently kids there won a contest that was for a plastic bag receptacle. And the kids had made a dragon and painted it green and given it teeth, and it says feed me, and you're supposed to put your plastic bags in it, and then they get recycled. And the contest was sponsored by a group called A Bag's Life, and A Bag's Life is actually a project of the American Progressive Bag Alliance, and that's a lobbying group for plastic bag manufacturers, and they fight aggressively against bag bans, which are one of the few things that actually help address the plastic waste problem. It really encapsulates this double-edged strategy we've been seeing from the plastic industry, and not just now, but for decades. They've been, on the one hand, saying, recycle, we're with you, let's do it, you know, keep everything clean, and on the other hand, they're fighting every serious attempt to limit plastic production. Makes sense, right? They make their living from plastics production.
I consider the recycling symbol to be the most recognizable image of environmental hope. The person who created it was a student in 1970, right after the first celebration of Earth Day. And he entered a contest done by the Container Corporation of America. It's an icon that tells consumers that we can keep consuming products, consuming resources, but that the cycle will continue to create a kind of ecological balance between production and consumption. In 1971, you have the Crying Indian. The Crying Indian commercial was created by Keep America Beautiful, which is an anti-litter organization, which was founded in 1953 by beverage and container corporations. Some of the leaders of it included the Dixie Cup Company and Coca-Cola, and they created a variety of public service announcements through the Ad Council, the U.S.'s preeminent public service ad agency. They brought you Smokey Bear.
Remember, only you can prevent forest fires.
And just like Smokey Bear focuses on individual responsibility for forest fires, Keep America Beautiful focuses on the individual's role in fighting what they called the litter menace.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it.
Audiences are meant to feel a sense of guilt when they see that tier, and they're meant to think about what has caused this environmental crisis, what has caused all of the damage, degradation to this person's land. And of course, again, the answer is the individual who's been so thoughtless and careless in their littering.
For a long time, this was sort of the message of environmentalism, right? Is to recycle. But reduce and reuse, the other two parts of that, that three-part message, those sort of went out the window. And so it was all about recycling. Well, in truth, in the decades that we've been emphasizing recycling, we have never, the United States, gotten even up to 10% recycling rate for our plastics. The peak was 9.5. So the vast majority of the plastic waste that we produced in those decades has been burnt or landfilled or ended up in the ocean or in nature somewhere else. For many years, for about 25 years, we've been sending China our plastic waste. And we've been calling this waste recycled. Officially, it's categorized as recycled. But in fact, most of this recycled waste is actually ending up in landfills or in the ocean or being burnt.
At the beginning of 2018, the government of China said, we're not going to take the world's plastic waste anymore. New plastic production is so cheap, there's no economic driver for collecting all this plastic, washing it, reprocessing it, and making it into a new product. It really shouldn't be called recyclable if nobody wants to buy the material.
The plastics industry is expecting huge growth, even way beyond what we've seen already. We're looking at a slope that's going steeply upwards, and that's in large part because of the declining cost of fossil fuels necessary to make them. This is an environmental story, obviously, but it's very much a climate story too. Because all plastic, or virtually all plastic, is made from fossil fuels, from coal and oil and natural gas. When you look at who the companies producing plastic are, it's often the same ones that are in the oil and gas business, because these are petrochemicals we're talking about. So it is ExxonMobil, it's Dow DuPont, it's Chevron Phillips. These are the same big companies that are also on the hook for the climate crisis. And so we have to address them together.